birdie. So anyway, a tip on either, like, for example, Facebook or in real life or social media, when somebody like says or posts something that you totally disagree with, or you feel it's like, let's say, for example, an incorrect statement and that's portrayed as a fact, or it's an exaggeration, or blown out of proportion, and it's like, for example, it's misleading people. What may happen in us, which is our lesson and our spiritual growth, or our inner growth, is that we may feel triggered, which is another way of being said emotional, or emotions from our past being unearthed. That's really what being triggered is, So often we spring to action and rebound or relash against the person, or re-attack or react, and it's just like a quick ping pong, bing bing bing. The best way to avoid arguments is to avoid interruptions and stop interrupting a person, and the best way to overall do all of this is to slow down and just don't be so fast. So, for example, I want to give you a tip in this video of how I personally like to respond optimally. Now, I don't always do this, but I'm working on it and I'm getting better over time, obviously. It takes practice. But how I like to respond is empathize, possibly. For example, if someone says, all people take advantage, these, like, detox, this is the example I'm talking about, like detox and fasting gurus use fear to capitalize on basically selling their protocols to people who blindly follow, or something like that. A lovely friend of mine said this, and I can't necessarily agree with that, because I just feel it's very sort of linear. It's very one-dimensional. Like, it's like saying, this is what people do in this trade. They sort of like cool-heartedly take advantage of the weak or the poor or the people who are vulnerable. And all I can say is, like, what I didn't say. I said something along the lines of, like, you feel this way, like you've experienced this. I said, sorry to hear, because basically speaking, you have to just tune in and put yourself in another person's shoes. That's like always like a golden tip for relationships or in life with people. So put yourself in their shoes. So I said, you've experienced this, sorry to hear. And then I said something like, could this also be applied to, like, all people or all things at some times, at least, like both sides of the spectrum? Like, could it be for people who are like not interested in detox, and some other people like to capitalize on fear, or like lots of people do different things, like even people who are totally opposed to detox and fasting, they also may use like fear or propaganda, or working on people's emotions to make sales, or to sell things, or to convince, or have people blindly follow them too, eh? So it's good to ask a question instead of like ferociously lay down the law on a person, because then that just sounds like you're fighting against somebody, you're conflicting and resisting them. So ask a question, right? And then I felt happier in my heart, and I asked her another question, and it was just peaceful, and there was no resistance. And then I ended up like, haha, and I said, love you, just